states which are on system projects, the interstates, U.S. highways, and some other roadways, they will say that they encourage the state to do that. And, the state has to make the decision how they're going to do that. They have to make the decision based on a number of things, how they're going to protect that work zone. And the decisions the things that they might bring into account is a prior crash history. They might, of course, speed is going to be the main thing. So operational speed, not speed limit, but operational speed, they're going to bring into account onto whether they separate the traffic from the workers. Remember that most of the people killed in a work zone are motorists, not workers. That doesn't in any way diminish what happens to the workers. We're just looking at numbers. So you're also protecting and shielding your motorists from being hurt as they come into or killed as they come into a work zone and hit a piece of equipment. Yes, they can very well hit a worker, but they hit a piece of equipment or drive off an edge or hit a bridge column or something like that. So it's the whole thing with work zones when you're making that decision to shield. Again, let me go through real quickly. You look at speed. It's in no order here. Things like your crash history there. You'll look at roadway geometry. Is it in a curve? Is it blind as it comes through there in a depressed section where you can't see what's happening up there? So there's so many things to look at. And I think I may have even included when I did your little survey, something that I look at, and that is whether the work zone faces east or west into the rising or setting sun. Because, the data that I look at, anecdotally, I haven't done formal studies, but anecdotally, guess what? East and west facing work zones and permanent installations of roads all you have to do is look at the time of day when the crash happens. It's a sunrise or a sunset. People can't see or are unable to react quick enough to something that has happened. So, these are some of the things many things that states will take into account, owners should take into account to decide whether they're going to accept Federal Highway Administration's encouragement to separate one from the other.
Yeah, definitely.
But time in the work zone is huge. What if it's just a 5-hour work zone? Probably you won't be separating that. You may use a mobile barrier trailer. You may you'll certainly use barrels, cones, warning signs, and things like the road quake, rumble, that transverse rumble strip that's put in called the road quake, temporary sort of rubber material that's put down that wakes drivers up. And I've got some experience with that has just all been nothing but positive, just to wake folks up and get them to realize something's changing in the road up ahead of them.
Yeah, definitely. So I would love to pivot here. That's some great info. I would love to pivot here, talk a little bit about project planning and project design. So I know kind of some of the major ways projects are bid are, like a normal bid build project that is just like lowest cost wins. And the ones I'd like to focus on, I know you mentioned this a little bit, but design build projects, as well as P3 projects and kind of how those are developed. So I'd love to understand the timeline associated with those projects and kind of key phases in that design planning process, and like kind of how those like design build teams kind of come together and who they're made up of. If that makes sense.
Okay, so P3 would be a place where I think I could call P3. But and I see this in a lot of international stuff. However, design build, the way we do it in Texas and the way I've seen it done in other states, I do with some familiarity, and I have co-located for 7.5 months on a design build project, where I had to fly 500 miles, twice a week to get there and get back. So I got some familiarity with design build, from the very beginning, or actually, let me step back, not the very beginning, it was actually under the design. A colleague of mine was out on this project from the very beginning, that is, during the proposal phase, and that proposal was won. So, the owner is looking for a number of things. Cost is one of them that they're looking for. They hope to deliver this project quicker, but I mean at the lowest cost. But that's not going to be the biggest driver. They're wanting to see if somebody can promise to deliver it quicker, and that's really kind of what they're looking for. Now, where the argument comes in design build is how you write the contract.